Boom! We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for listening wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. So, some recent news, well, actually, two pieces of relevant news came down the pipeline recently. And we're going to be discussing both. Number one, Lisa Bluder of the Iowa women's basketball program has retired. I will be discussing that, give my reaction, my thoughts. And then also Iowa men's basketball. This is going to be a double dose of men's basketball. Well, actually, not of men's basketball, of basketball in general, women's and men's side. Iowa received a commitment from Manhattan small forward. So it's Seydou Traore, I believe. Seydou Traore. Hopefully I got that as correctly as I can get it. But either way, regardless of how exactly you say his name, I am ecstatic about the pickup. I discussed in my previous video where we hit upon Peyton Sandfort's rise in the NBA draft process. He's climbing up draft boards. I mentioned to you guys the latest transfer portal target that Iowa was in on, and I gave you guys some preliminary thoughts on why I was hoping that they would land him. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys to consider smashing that subscribe button. At the very least, like, comment, share. Any engagement in the video helps the video out. Let's get this channel to 2,000 subs by the time the season starts, the football season. And without further ado, let's get into this. So we'll start first with the Lisa Bluder retirement. So I did a video a while back. I think it was when Iowa women's basketball, I did a few women's basketball videos towards the end of the season when they were having their NCAA tournament run. And I discussed what Iowa could be after Caitlin Clark left. Given the fact, and at the time, I believe that she had said that she was going to depart for the WNBA. I think that information was already provided. And so I did take that information into account. And a lot of my thoughts on whether or what Iowa women's basketball would be really depended on whether they won the national championship or not, because winning a national championship puts you into a stratosphere that is very, very difficult to get to. Just as Iowa, they were this close to making it, but still so far. It is so hard to win a national championship. And once you do, you are known for at least the next 5 years as what I would consider a blue blood program. When you win a national championship, you immediately enter blue blood status at that point in time within your sport. So, with that said, though, Iowa still made it super far. They made it to the national championship. And so, to put it bluntly, Iowa is in a phenomenal spot regardless of winning the national championship or not. If I were to assess Iowa women's basketball and where I would put them, I would say currently they are like as close to being a blue blood program as it gets. They are blue blood in the sense of the last couple of years they have been super dominant, especially the last 2 years. They've been one of the top 4 teams in all of women's college basketball. But a part of blue blood status is also long-term success. And so if you look at the Caitlin Clark run, and specifically the last 2 years, I would say they're blue blood. But if you take into account that Caitlin Clark can't be there forever, they still have a little bit of work to do. But they are definitely a highly, highly, highly respected program. And let me tell you guys something. The University of Iowa, I mean, yes, in a certain regard, they can quantify, and I'm sure Caitlin Clark was paid very handsomely. Uh, in fact, there was an article that came out discussing how much money she made in college versus her NBA salary, or NBA WNBA salary, which of course is apples to oranges. I don't think it's a like for like comparison. And I've said this before, at the end of the day, as we see with Caitlin Clark, when you think about sports and entertainment as a whole, it's all about how many butts you can put into the stands or into the seats. And that is literally the number one determining factor of how much money is paid out to these players and performers. So Iowa is, they are right there. They are as close to blue blood status as one can get, and they will never be able to truly quantify and put a price on the impact of Caitlin Clark having worn the Iowa jersey that will be entrenched in the minds of fans and up and coming girls that are in the sport of basketball for years to come. Okay, you cannot put a price on that. So for me, what will put Iowa into blue blood status is over the next couple of years, if they are able to make, one or two Elite Eights or better, or something like, a Final Four run, a Sweet 16. Let me say that again because it paused. A Final Four run, an Elite Eight run, and a Sweet 16. It really all depends, but it at the very least it has to be Sweet 16 or beyond, because that's blue blood status. Blue blood status is you are a perennial top 8 to 10 program in the entire country. So and they're on their way, guys. They are definitely on their way. They picked up the nice piece out of Villanova, who is one of the highest profile college women's basketball players that entered the transfer portal. So they are definitely on their way. Now, with regards to Lisa Bluder, I would be lying if I said that this did not come as a shock to me. I was stunned. I thought Lisa Bluder would be there for at least the next 4 years. And one of the things that I wanted to say, that I reminded myself before the video that I could not miss this, is the fact that at the end of the day, guys, Lisa Bluder retiring is an excellent example that you never truly do know what coaches are thinking and kind of what their thoughts are and aspirations and goals, and kind of how fulfilled or not fulfilled or satisfied, and all of that stuff. And we can, like I did with Fran McCaffrey, I reviewed the rumors. We can discuss the rumors all day long, but at the end of the day, ultimately, only that individual knows what is best for him or her and kind of what their hopes and dreams are moving forward. So I still was very, very surprised. I saw an article. I saw an article that said that Lisa Bluder, because there was an article that said that she had gone from 50 people in the stands to 50,000, which, yes, is unbelievable. And that her retiring now, when she didn't necessarily have to, given the recent success and her program being at its peak in status, prestige, and success, is an example of the selflessness that she has. It looks like the new Villanova player has not been added to the roster yet. But there is a few articles. Maybe we'll read this article here. I'm going to find the transfer. Lucy Olson. Okay, so Lucy Olson is the one that is transferring in from Villanova. She was definitely considered one of the top transfer options for the women's side of things, women's basketball. So let's see if it allows me to read this article. But yeah, guys, I was totally stunned. I was not expecting Lisa Bluder to retire. And, but it, at the same time, again, Iowa women's basketball is in an excellent place. And to tell you the truth, you'd be hard pressed to find a better passing of the tons than what Iowa was able to do. We see programs that are really successful that because of their success, they are able to have this kind of like measured approach to passing the torch. But most programs cannot do that. They simply cannot. And it sounds like kind of behind the scenes that Lisa Bluder was definitely developing Jan Jensen for this position, and she got it. So let's read this article here. On April 7th, the Iowa women's basketball team fell just shy of its dreams of a national championship, losing to South Carolina 87-75 in the title game of the 2024 NCAA Women's Tournament in Cleveland. As it turns out, the event came to symbolize something other than the Hawkeyes making it to the biggest game in their sport for the second time in as many years. Unbeknownst to many at the time, it would be the last game of Coach Lisa Bluder's career. On Monday, Bluder retired as Iowa's coach after completing her 24th season at the school, making the end of a long and decorated coaching career. And by the way, 24 years, it just shows, guys, sometimes as a fan base, the best thing to do is to just be patient because it takes time, guys. It really does take time. Not always, but often it takes time to develop the type of amazing program. It rarely happens overnight, guys. On Monday, Bluder retired as Iowa's coach after completing the 24th season at the school. All right. Bluder announced her retirement in the form of a letter she penned to Hawkeye Nation describing her time at the helm of the program as the honor of my career, while adding that she hopes she can be an asset to our basketball program and this athletic department in any way that I am able during her retirement. Yeah, there's a good chance she'll still be used as a consultant or there's Lisa Bluder there. As a consultant or analyst or something like that. It's a momentous decision that instantly became one of the biggest stories in the world of women's basketball, professional or college. With Bluder's departure, women's college basketball is losing one of its more accomplished and revered figures. Here's a look at why Bluder retired, what she achieved at Iowa, and what's next for the Hawkeyes and more. Why is Lisa Bluder retiring as Iowa women's basketball coach? Bluder's retirement, or at least the timing of it, 1 month after the end of the season, came as a bit of a surprise. Yeah, that's definitely true, especially considering that she didn't do it right away, and they had gone after Lucy, I forget her last name, from Villanova. The fact that they had gone after her and she didn't do it right away. See, that's another thing that I was thinking of why I was surprised as well, because things did not seem to the casual observer, things did not seem like it was going this way. Okay. What prompted her choice and why now? It came as a bit of a surprise. In the letter she wrote announcing her retirement, Bluder said she spent time with her players and coaches since the end of the season, preparing for the Hawkeyes' next steps heading into the 24-25 season. Bluder added, though, that doing so came with personal contemplation about what this journey has meant to me, how to best champion this program, and what the future looks like for my family and me. After doing so, Bluder said, it became clear to me that I am ready to step aside. Retiring, particularly from a sport you love so dearly, is a deeply personal decision. But even for an outside observer, Bluder's choice is understandable. Bluder has been a college coach since 1984, when she took over St. Ambrose, an NAIA school in Davenport, just 1 year after she finished her playing career at Northern Iowa. She coached 6 seasons there before moving on to Drake, and since 2000, she has been at Iowa, making her one of the longest tenured coaches in women's college basketball. Though it ultimately didn't end with a championship, Bluder will be leaving the sport on something of a high note. The Hawkeyes advanced to the NCAA championship game in each of the past 2 seasons, the furthest the program had ever been in the event. Prior to that run, they had been to just one Final Four back in 1993, when the legendary C. Vivian Stringer was coach. The game in each of the past 2, the first game. Perhaps making the decision a bit easier was the fact that Iowa was losing a number of key pieces from the 23-24 team, namely guard Caitlin Clark, the 2-time National Player of the Year, and the NCAA Division I scoring career scoring leader, men's or women's. Clark and Kate Martin, 2 of the Hawkeyes' 3 leading scorers last season, were selected in the 2024 WNBA draft, with Clark going number 1 overall to the Indiana Fever. All right, guys, so that's all I'm going to read there. So, you know, my final thoughts on the Lisa Bluder thing is I definitely agree. And I think a lot of coaches have and players have tried to do this of late, which is retiring and getting out on a high note rather than as things start to fall and falter. And if you're Lisa Bluder, you do have to ask yourself, will it get any better? And if it might get better, how much work will be needed to get that much better? And, do I think it's impossible for Iowa to make a national championship game again? No. But let's be honest, folks. Iowa, number one on this team, they had 2 players that were capable of making the WNBA. But secondly, they had the best player the past 2 years in all of women's college basketball. As I said in my previous Iowa women's basketball videos, the difference between, and I said this when Iowa lost to South Carolina, the difference between Iowa and a South Carolina and an LSU is the talent from top to bottom. And I'm not saying Iowa is a roster full of scrubs, because that's not the case. They do recruit really well, but they still don't recruit by and large as well as an LSU or South Carolina. Okay. And, to essentially, the only way that Iowa could get back to where they have been the last 2 years is to either land another Caitlin Clark, which they basically already have. Now, they haven't, it's not completely done yet, but they did land a 5-star guard out of the state of California. I'm going to pull up her name now. So that's check. Or Iowa could take it up a notch on the shoulders of the success that they have had and the popularity and the notoriety. They could recruit as a whole slightly better, maybe not landing any 5 stars, but as a whole recruiting slightly better, and propel as more of a team group effort as opposed to a Caitlin Clark dominated team. So I get it. She wanted to leave on a high note. So hold on. Iowa lands 5. I think it's Addison Deal. I think that's her name. Addison Deal. Yeah. It is from Mater Dei High School, one of the best programs in the state of California. So I totally understand the decision as far as Jan. And the last thing I want to say is, the chances of, even though Iowa did land this 5-star player, the chances of Lisa Bluder coaching another Caitlin Clark again is highly, highly unlikely. Okay. Caitlin Clark is going to go down as literally the best to ever do it. For years, that's going to be the case, for years and years. So, you take all of those things into account, and you take into account the fact that she's still likely behind the scenes going to have a heavy hand in the assistance of this Iowa women's basketball program. And it makes sense. Was it shocking? Yes, but it makes sense. Now, as far as Jan Jensen goes, I really don't have any, I don't really have a ton of knowledge on her. I'm going to see if I can uh, pull up. From what I know, most of her coaching experience, it has been at Iowa, but this is what it says on Wikipedia. Jensen was born in the small rural town of Kimbolton, Iowa. Basketball player, a large part in Jensen's family background. Her grandmother, Dorcas Anderson, was part of the team that won Iowa State basketball tournament in 1921. College career. Jensen accepted a scholarship to play basketball for the Drake Bulldogs. In Jensen's senior season, Lisa Bluder became the head coach for Drake. Jensen was initially skeptical of Bluder's hiring, stating, "It's kind of, are you kidding me, right? New coach, I'm a senior." And that ended up being really the best thing. She was just tremendous. She was really just a player's coach and intense, but knew how to make it fun. Obviously, it benefited me. Jensen led Division I women's basketball in scoring that season, finishing with 29.6 points per game for the season. She was also named a Kodak Honorable Mention All-American. In 2007, the MVC named Jensen as one of the 35 greatest players in conference history. Coaching career, so she coached at Drake. After her season in Germany, Jensen returned to Drake as a graduate assistant. Jensen joined Bluder's coaching staff following her playing career. Under Bluder and Jensen, Drake reached the Missouri Valley Conference tournament 8 times and had 5 seasons with 20 or more wins. Jensen served as Bluder's first assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at Drake. Bluder and Jensen also worked with Jenny Fitzgerald, who has served as special assistant to the head coach. So I don't think she's ever been a head coach. So from that perspective, guys, this is not like a for sure slam dunk. Okay. She obviously has knowledge within the game of basketball. She has worked under a great, but this is more of a Iowa going with a John Shire, like Mike Krzyzewski did at Duke, or like Roy Williams passing it to Roy Hibbert, I think his name is, where there's not a ton of coaching experience as a head coach, but they do have a ton of personal basketball experience and tutelage under the great coach. So is it like a full-blown, what I would categorize as a slam dunk as of right this second? It's hard for me to say that. But is it possible that she can definitely be great? Absolutely. I mean, she obviously has a ton of knowledge regarding the game of basketball. But, I would say one of the slight damper spots on this hiring is that she doesn't have a ton of head coaching experience. So there you guys have it. Let's move on to and there's some other things with Jan Jensen that are interesting, but I'm not going to delve into those too much, but we'll see, we'll see, guys. We'll see how it goes. So let's see. Let's go to this here. So Iowa men's basketball landed, as I told you guys, Seydou Traore. I think this is a really nice pickup. I was absolutely hoping that they would land him. You can never have too many wing pieces, and that is really what Iowa, their emphasis in recruiting and roster management has been, which is load up on versatile 6'6" to 6'9" forwards. If you look at Iowa's roster next year, they are going to have Lajai Dembele, 6'8", 6'9", Price Sanford, who's 6'7", possibly Peyton Sanford, who's 6'7", 6'8", Cooper Coach, 6'8", Chris Tadjow, 6'8", 6'9". And now they have Seydou Traore. I mean, that's 5 or 6 6'8", 6'9" guys that will give and they all bring different things. You know, Peyton and Price are definitely better on the perimeter. They can shoot the basketball, but they're not necessarily as athletic. And I would say Cooper Coach is in that vein as well, Cooper Koch. And then you have Chris Tadjoe, Seydou Traore, and Lajai Dembele. I would say Lajai Dembele is somewhere in between. He definitely showed examples of having a jumper this past season, and I am highly optimistic about his game going into next year. So this is a really nice pickup. He averaged 11.8 points per game, 8.2 rebounds, and 2.3 assists per game. His field goal percentage was 43.3. And I read an article that he was in the 98th percentile in defensive rebounding by, it was like Ken Palm, I think it was. So he has an excellent defensive rebounding rate. And the other good news is that he will be coming to Iowa as a sophomore. So he's going to have 3 years of eligibility left. And that is the thing that I like the most, because most of the players that Iowa was in on were seniors with only 1 year of eligibility left. Kind of like what they did with our guy this past year, who transferred from Valparaiso, Ben Crique. So I like that this guy's going to be able to come to Iowa and grow and develop within the system. He definitely has some things to work on, but the upside is there. Guys, anytime a freshman can average 11.8 points per game in Division I basketball, that's impressive. So, and then he is considered a 4-star prospect. Unfortunately, though, Manhattan went 7-23, so they were absolutely terrible last year. But On3 gives them a rating of an 89, a high 3-star, which is not bad. Not a slam dunk, but not bad. And Rivals gives him a 4-star grade. So Iowa, according to Rivals, has brought in 2 4-star transfer portal recruits. So let's go ahead and take a look at that really quickly, and then we'll bounce out of here. So this is who Iowa has coming in next year. Cooper Koch, 4-star. Chris Tadjoe, high 3-star with a grade of a 95 by On3. Stupendous. Stupendous. And then Drew Thelwell, 90. He has a 4-star grade. He has a 4-star grade from both 247 Sports and Rivals. You guys can see it right there. Or, excuse me, On3 and Rivals. 247 Sports has not graded either Seydou or Drew, unfortunately. And then there is Seydou's grade. So, all right, guys, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I am really excited about how this Iowa men's basketball team is shaping up next year. If they get Peyton Sanford, this is definitely going to be an NCAA tournament caliber team with some really, really, really nice pieces. I think Iowa might go after one more piece. We'll see if Peyton Sandfort stays in the draft. Iowa will definitely try to get another piece. The only issue with that is it'll be very late in the process, so there won't be as many players to pick from for Iowa. But there will still be some, though. There will still be some players available for Iowa. But either way, if they roll with who they have now, there's a ton of upside on this roster, and I am loving the wing pieces that Iowa is going to have for this next year's roster. All right, guys, but that's going to do it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As I said, like, comment, share, subscribe. Help your boy get to 2,000 subscribers by the beginning of the next football season. Your boy would really appreciate it. I will see you guys next time. DBAP, don't be a pussy willow in facts or feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. Love you, Kings. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.